Hey guys, so right now it looks pretty decently bright as I'm filming this, but I don't know if it's gonna change when I actually get around to editing this video, so I apologize. It's like been threatening to rain today, but I saw some blue sky earlier, so I was like, might as well go ahead and film. So anyways, today's video is gonna be a little different from some of the other stuff I've done, and I'm really excited because I'm kind of getting bored of just doing monthly wrap-ups and, you know, all that other fun stuff. So today I will be talking to you guys about the books that I read in middle school. Now, I have been forced to read my whole life. Well, I've read my whole life, but I didn't start actually enjoying to read until 7th grade, which I have told the story a million times on my channel in a million different videos. But I stumbled upon Percy Jackson and The Lightning Thief because we were reading it for my 7th grade class book. And I am so glad we read that instead of The Hunger Games because that's what the other middle school was reading. But I absolutely fell in love. But like I said, I've been reading since I was little because I don't know if other states employed this in their schools, but in Texas we were required to do AR points. So basically you would go check out a book, or you owned a book or whatever, you would read it, and then you would get on the little installation thing on the computer and take a quiz over it. If you passed the quiz, you would get these points, and so it was supposed to help you improve your reading level and whatnot. So I had to read, and so before I actually started liking to read, then I just go over some of the books I read in middle school, because looking back on it now, I had a very interesting variety that I read from. One of the first books, I think this may have been where my love for history has started, because I read these books. I read the Dear America books. I have not seen them since middle school, so I could not remember what they were called, so I had to Google them, because I was like, God, I remember I loved them. Basically, it's just a bunch of different stories about girls from different parts of different eras of America. There's also another series that I cannot remember for the life of me what it's called, but it also follows famous female figures. There's one about Cleopatra, there's one about Marie Antoinette, because I know I read that one. You know, there's a whole bunch of these different books, and basically it's written in a diary style for the reader to get a feel of what these girls went through. And actually some of these books have been turned into movies, because I remember they had them at my local library, and so I would rent the movies out and watch them as I read the books. They were really cool. I don't know if I would love them as much now, since, you know, I don't even want to think about how long ago it was that I read these, but they were really awesome. Another one I read is a book called The Season. I cannot for the life of me remember who wrote it, and I really love this book, which is interesting, I think. It is set during the time in the world when, you know, being a debutante and coming out balls, and the opening season of I'm officially ready to get married because I'm 16 was a big thing. And we follow this girl as she's going through her first season and officially being introduced into society. And there is mystery, and there's cattiness, and there's drama, and it's just I just remember it was so amazing, and I loved it, and I always wished there was a sequel. I don't think there ever was. Another series of books I read was R.L. Stine, which I know a lot of people know him for his Goosebumps books, which I never got into because I felt I was too old to be reading Goosebumps, but I watched the TV shows. But I got into his kind of older series called Fear Street, and these books, I don't know how I could read these and, you know, sleep at night. These books, they all, you don't have to read them in order, because my God, there's I swear to God, there's 50, 60 books in this series, and they're really short. They're this big, and they all center around this street in this town, and the street is called Fear Street, and there are just so many bizarre and weird things that go on in this town that's from people that live on this street and, you know, go to the high school and stuff. And it's just, every story is so different, but it's so dark and it's so twisted, but I could sleep perfectly fine. I just remember loving them, and I checked out I think I've read almost all of the books because I love them so much, and they were really fast reads, so it's reading like that. But I'm honestly super surprised that they were even allowed in the library, because they dealt some with really dark stuff. Now, I could understand being able to read it in like a high school library, but for a middle school library? Really? Another, not series, but they're all by the same author. I read a lot of Lois Duncan as well. She wrote like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Killing Mr. Griffin, and she writes kind of the same. She writes thriller novels for teens, early preteens, whatever. Again, these books were really short, but they were all so different from each other, and it was just something that about it, that the storyline was just so cool that like it kept me entrapped into it. I also read the Maximum Ride series. I picked them up around 7th grade, I'm gonna say. Once I had started to enjoy reading, you know, I read all 5 of the Percy Jackson books that were out at that time, because I believe when I was in 7th grade, the movie had just come out for Lightning Thief, and Last Olympian had just been published. So I like zoomed through all 5 of the books. And I remember as soon as I finished reading The Lightning Thief, I had to take my parents and have them take me to the bookstore so I could buy Sea Monsters. And then after that, it was like every other one. So of course I read Percy Jackson, but after I finished that, I needed a new book to entertain me. So I went ahead and picked up Maximum Ride by James Patterson. I haven't talked about this a lot. I've mentioned it a few times because it is one of my favorite series, even though I still have not finished it. That's really embarrassing. I have like 2 books left until I'm done with the series. It's a book that centers around these 6 genetically mutated children who have wings and can fly, and they escape from the lab they were basically created in, and it's their adventures on trying to stay safe, figure out like who their actual parents are, what happened, all this crazy stuff, which was really entertaining. And I mean, they're thick books, like for like a middle schooler, they were like 500 pages. Like that's a lot for me to be reading, but they flew by so fast. And I think one of the reasons I mainly picked up the series was because my mom loves James Patterson. He is one of her favorite authors in like the entire world. I think she's read, at this point, I think she's read almost all of his books that he's published by himself. I don't know if she's read everything that he's co-wrote with other people, because he co-writes a lot of books. Another set of books I read in middle school was Twilight. However, I never actually finished the series. I read Twilight, loved it. I decided to read it before the movie would come out so I could go see it. And then, of course, all of my friends hated me because I've always been a pretty slow reader. I think now that I'm older and, you know, I have a much higher reading level than I did back in middle school, I can read faster now, but I'm still kind of a slow reader, and back then I was a really slow reader, and I believe Twilight was above my reading level, but I was like, I'm gonna read it anyway. It took me 6 weeks to finish it, and all of my friends hated me because I made them wait till I was done before we could go to the movies and go see it. I think that's it. I can't really think of any other. I should have made a list before I did this video, but you know, Kristen doesn't think before she does stuff. But anyway, so those are all the books that I read in my middle school days, which now feels like forever ago. God, I'm old. So I will see you guys later. Let me know down in the comments. Let me know books that you remember from like your childhood, like middle school days. Have you read any of these? Am I the only one that was really into sick and twisted like stories as a middle schooler and could still sleep fine? Because now that I think about it, I'm a little worried that that may have damaged me in the brain. Anyways, so I will see you guys later. Until then, all my social media links are down below if you want to friend me or follow me or whatever. It is totally cool with me. Also, don't forget to give this video a giant thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I post new videos every Thursday. See you guys in my next video. Goodbye!